Boom. Episode 320, Morning Minutes with myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak, Auction Animals. We had a successful auction on Saturday, which really highlighted some good things when running an auction and just our whole perception. Mark, good morning.
Hey, man. Hey, everyone. What an auction, hey. What an auction. 5 p.m. we thought was a little bit late, but a huge audience there and a huge audience online. And what a result.
Yeah, it was. And it really brought to our attention some key points about what makes a good auction, some good things to do. And we also had an auction the week before, which was different. So it just sort of highlighted and different bidding in this auction from a specific buyer than we normally see. So we sort of wanted to break it down, bring to everyone's attention some good things we see, and hopefully you take something out of it. Mark, what do you reckon was, maybe let's start with why you took this property to auction first, because I think that's the first battle with agents. They go, should I or shouldn't I?
Yeah, well, this property was 6 Beacon Hill Road, Brookvale. Brookvale's probably not the most desirable place to buy a house and live in because there's a lot of industrial, commercial and units. It was sort of adjoining that precinct. It had a unit block next door, but it was sitting in a price range. Because of those things, it was actually sitting in a price range that was just untouched in the area. It was a price range of 125. So for our area, that was super low. Where the median price for most adjoining suburbs was 1.5, so it was really competitive. But the bidding was just so spirited. It was absolutely crazy, and it made us want to talk about it today. And that's why we sort of called it the auction animal, because I think people sort of it's not one size, one shoe fits all like a lot of people think.
100%. A lot of people, and we've touched it on a show we did where we went into detail about taking the right property to auction, and we sort of call it like your A-grade property, which isn't based on price, or a unicorn property. And you touched on a couple of the factors just then, the price point. So if we break this property down, which I just had the photos, price point was a factor. A lot of homes you can't buy at that price point, generally because they've got a better. Yeah, and that's not because of underquoting. That was just because it was a 100-year-old home. It was very old. So price point's one. The size of the block, Mark, it was huge, 844 square meter block level. So that's a big a big factor as well. So when you sort of combine those factors to it, then that sort of goes, well, let's do an auction, because there'll be a lot of people wanting a property within that price point. What were some other factors?
Look, I think that what made it a unicorn, the two things in isolation that made it a unicorn were that block and were that price. Enough of it to make it, like the zoning was regular. The deterrence, there was quite a few deterrents there, but people just really didn't care. But I just couldn't believe that, that was, in my original estimation, genuinely, hand on my heart, it was a 125 property. And to see it sell for 1.55 and 500, well, I was just absolutely gobsmacked, because houses in the area are selling for less than that in better suburbs. So I think auction and that competition drove it really well. It was a good decision for the owner to go to auction. But equally, we've had properties go to auction where they don't go off. And I think you need to rely on your experience of an agent. If you're an auction all agency, I don't think that's in the best interest of a seller. So if it's a realtor or real estate agent that pretty much only does auctions, I think they're going to fall on their sword a little bit. So you've got to have an experienced agent to spot the unicorn property for an auction.
It is, and the key thing here is once you sort of confirm it's that type of property for an auction, it's that competition just it does something to the buyers, and they just it motivates them to keep bidding. They want to secure the property, because it's almost like when it's public, their mindset's probably, well, he wants it, and he or she wants it, but I want it. And it's just very open, because you had how many groups did you have through the open? How many were at the auction as well and registered?
Yeah, so there was 52 contracts issued, which was just gobsmacked. Everyone wanted a contract. There was over 200 people through the open houses. The numbers were big. It was a 4-week campaign, and dissecting that auction was pretty hilarious afterwards, because the purchaser was a real character. Frank is his name, and I did a video with him afterwards, which is sitting on my Facebook account. But I do have to say that, I've never seen the auctioneer actually have to what did Vic Larusso say to everyone? Like he like, said, guys,
you can't run yourself.
I've never seen that. I've never seen an auctioneer actually have to calm the crowd down and shush the crowd and remind everyone that they're doing the auction, not them. Everyone was pretty comfortable, and I think that was part of Frank's persona, that he was even going to the bidder, which was pretty funny. He was going to the bidder like, give me your next bid, and as soon as the bidder made a bid, and as soon as the underbidder made a bid against Frank, he'd go bang and then knock it down again. So he was like geeing the guys up to make an offer under the auction conditions, and he was banging them with an offer on top. He was entertaining.
It was some friendly banter, just like, I want this property and I'm just going to keep bidding. And it was, at one stage, they were sort of really talking amongst themselves. The underbidder was like, he was like, you've already got, like, we're already 150 grand over my budget. And then I think Frank was like, well, bid again then, or just, and then you'd bid again. So you cannot replicate that in a private treaty sale. And people justify that to themselves when it's a one of a kind with any aspect. Yeah. Like, I reckon in the surrounding suburbs, that's probably one of the only blocks on the market with that block size. And also, on one hand, some people they think it's bad that the property is really original, but on the other hand, I find buyers love it, because if you're buying a home and you want to knock it down and they've just put new carpet in, they've just done a new kitchen, but they haven't done anything else, in your head you're paying for those renovations that you're going to rip down. So something that's basically untouched, it's I don't know, quite liberating. They love it. They just want it because they know they're not paying anything extra, considering they're probably going to rip it down. So that competition and seeing other people bid for it.
It's a beautiful story. Like, I think it's, at the end of the day, we forget, we're families selling to families, and this has been in the family, one owner for over 100 years, this house, and it's going to a family. Frank's bought it for an investment, and I said to him, mate, what are you going to do with it? And he said, I've got no idea. So what do you mean? He said, in about 25 years, we'll work it out. This is for my kids. So it shows that, I think, that Chinese mentality is that long-term generational thinking, rather than what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? I'm going to do 5 years, I'm going to sell in 12 months, I'm going to sell in 20. No, he's just thought, you know what? I'm banking this for the rest of my life, and we'll just see what happens in 25 years. And I was pretty impressed by that attitude.
And talk us through your advice to the owners with really persisting to sort of go ahead with the auction. Like, there was a lot of activity, but there was really only a couple people really pushing to buy it prior. Obviously, and I know a lot of agents would just sort of take the money and run and just think a quick deal and not run the risk, because auctions are nervous for agents, for everybody. And sometimes the buyer can leverage that with a strong perceived offer and just sort of catch them. But you, James, stood strong with your advice. Talk us through that.
Yeah, good call. So what actually happened during this auction campaign is there was an absolute premium offer on week 2 or 3 of 1.36, and the owner was like, you know what, I think we're going to sell it at that figure. So we went back to the purchaser and said, look, get us a signed contract and a check. Now, it's pretty interesting that, because in hindsight, everyone was pretty comfy with 1.25 to, as the guide, and this was over 100,000 the guide. Next thing you know, because there was no contract and check produced by a purchaser, and guys and girls, if you want to buy a property before auction, get a contract signed and put a check with it. It's the best way, because it could have convinced these owners. Whether we would have recommended it or not is another thing. Anyway, another couple of offers came in. 141 came in, and we were like, whoa, this is going nuts. 145 came in. What? This is nuts. And then we very strongly we said to the owner, look, we've really got to see this out, and it sold for 155. So that's $200,000 over what the owners regarded the 136 as a premium price for going to the auction and seeing that process out. They really could have easily comfortably sold prior and felt pretty good about it, but they would have left some money on the table.
Yeah, and that's where they can and even if it didn't go above the 145, the highest offer prior, at least they know, and that's where when you've got that activity, you a lot of time owners sell, and then they never tell you they regret it. But even as an agent, you're like, man, I really thought that could have been a little bit different if we ran it. And I think obviously it's great when it goes above. So, and yeah, it just shows when you've got those properties that the buyer cannot just say, well, there's 3 others on the market, the one come up next week. It really, really confirms that auction strategy. But it's not a blank, everything's an auction sort of thing. It's the key.
Well, look, even if you look at buying something like that, I think the Reserve Bank, I've said it a couple of times, the Reserve Bank is saying they're not going to move the rates up or down over the next 3 years. You've got some certainty, definitely. The 10-year bonds in the market are pretty stable, pretty low. I think there's some certainty in the marketplace the rates are going to stay on or about the figures where they are. So if you're buying something for $1.5 million, guys and girls, and you're borrowing your money at 2%, you're talking about 40, talking about 60 is going to be your repayments if you borrow all the money. And then if you consider the property that's going to rent, that 60 is about $1,100 a week, $1,000 a week. If you consider that your rent's going to be, what's that, 45 grand of that, 40 or 45 grand of that, it's not much of a top up to hold such a great asset. But let's talk about auctions. Sorry.
Perfect. No, that's all good. I think we covered it. I think that's a wrap. Anything else you wanted to add in particular?
No, but if you do want to watch the auction, jump on the live. We've recorded that. Michael's done a great job of that on Novak channel to watch that auction. We may pop the link in there, and Frank's interview. He's the buyer of the property. But look, certainly auction works, and the lesson from today, guys, is don't think that process is the one size fits all process auction for all properties. It's wrong to have that attitude.
Yeah, that's the key. It's got to be a unicorn property in most cases. So, and yeah. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow morning once again for live as well. And Monday night news, I believe. Mark, do you want it?
No. Yep.
Yeah, 8 o'clock, that will be on Novak. So stay tuned.
And thanks for watching, everyone. Any questions, want to put them in here, we're always happy to answer them. And also, if you guys have a topic, we're doing this daily at 7:45. If you guys have a topic you want us to cover, you want to explore more, you want us to dig through, pull apart, put back together, put it in the comments and we'll happily have a chat about it online with you.
Yep, perfect. Cheers, everyone.
See you, legend. Thanks, Michael.
Bye.
Giddy up.